The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are webcasting to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. We are in Tower 1, which is the new home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters, and it is also the new home for Autism Live. I keep promising you that we're going to be in the new studio, and we will. It will happen, but it's not today. Fingers crossed it will be next Tuesday, but I can't even guarantee you that. You know how these things go. But there's primer on the walls, and there are walls. So that's a very exciting thing. But thrilled to be here with you. You know we want to be with you no matter what happens and we will be in the new studio eventually. We have to speak positively. But in any case, here with you for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We hope that you will be a part of this conversation, because if you are a parent, you're a teacher, you're a practitioner, you're an individual who cares about somebody with autism, we know how important it is for you to get to the resources that are going to help you to get to the progress for your individual circumstances. That's what it's all about. Not one size fits all, right? It cannot be. But lots that we're going to be doing here on the show. We do like to remind you that this entire show is meant to be interactive. Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate with us, while I remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, many things to do. Please sign up for our email list so that you get our free newsletter and our weekly viewer guide. And we encourage you to check out our blog, which I'm not as diligent about while we've been moving, but we will get back in the swing of that. I want to tell you, though, in particular, that you can be watching the live show on that homepage. All you have to do is click on the triangle that's on the computer screen on that page. And if you go into the playlist that's up on the upper left-hand corner, I'm just going to fix my microphone so that you can actually hear what I'm saying. If you go to the playlist that's up on that upper left-hand corner, you can cycle back through the most recent 100 shows that we've done live here. If you want more than that, you can go to our YouTube page. But to the side of all of the screen and all of that is the live feature. It's a series of white boxes. Put your cursor in the one that says your question. Start typing, hit enter. That's all there is. At this moment in time, there is still not a username and a password, but I feel like it's coming, you guys. So take advantage of it before it's there. Just type, hit enter, and then you and I can be in a conversation. And even better than that, you can be in a conversation with the folks that we have here on the show. You know, we love to do interviews. We have lots of experts, and I always like to remind you at the start of the show that I am not one of the experts. I am a parent. I am a former teacher, but mostly I'm a parent. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He will be 12 in a week and 1 day. I can't even believe that. And when I think about how far we have come, the waterworks start, right? I am the luckiest person that ever walked the face of the earth, because I have the boy that I have, and we got the help that we got. I will tell you that it didn't happen because I was smart. It didn't happen because I could afford it. Neither one of those things are true. It happened because I opened my ears a little bit and people gave us information. And we took that information and we decided to do things with it. So I know that your ears are a lot open because you found us here. I hope that we can help pay that forward and help you to get to the help that you need. But do not be mistaken, I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who knows what it's like to desperately want to be able to help somebody. and not have the information and be hanging on the words of people who do know what they're talking about. And I just want to be your switchboard operator and plug you into those people. All right, sound like a good deal? Now, we like to start every morning with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day, the jargon du jour. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to make sense of what those experts are talking about. All right, so our jargon term for today is model prompt. You might be, I love to think about what are all the things that come up when you see this. And, we're not talking about models that are in Harper's magazine or Cosmopolitan. That's just not what we're talking about, right? So our actual definition for a model prompt is to physically demonstrating the desired target response. Okay, we kind of understand what that is, but let's make it a little bit clearer with our working definition. A model prompt is demonstrating the behavior that is expected of the child or the individual, i.e. providing a model of the desired response that the child can imitate. So, I love skills, and I love talking about skills here on the show because it's been a very helpful tool to me. One of the things that it has in skills is when you're doing something, when you're teaching a lesson, there are often videos that help to explain things where you see them working with a child. And there's one video that's in skills in particular demonstrating a model prompt where the therapist says to the little boy, she says, touch your back. And then she goes like this. That's a model prompt. So she says, touch your back. That's the desired behavior, that we want him to touch his back, and then she touches her own back. Now, there are times when we do a physical prompt. A physical prompt would be taking the child's hand in your hand and guiding it to his own back and holding the hand there. And a partial physical prompt would be, slightly putting your hand and nudging, but maybe not doing the whole thing, right? But a full physical prompt is, walking them through the whole behavior. But a model prompt is when you're doing it on your own person, you're showing them, this is what I want you to do. It's really great to be able to know what the different prompts are and to be able to know how to use them and when to use them. We talk all the time about how this isn't one size fits all, and depending on what our child's learning abilities are, there might be a child whose sensory, putting your hand on theirs, feels really overbearing to them, and we don't want to do that with that child, right? And for an older child, being able to show them after we've learned, done the lesson learning through observation, this is a really effective thing to do because the child sees you do it and then they imitate, because learning through imitation is one of the most, it opens so many different doors. It's one of the most powerful lessons that we can teach our kids, learning through imitation. So a model prompt really helps with that. With all of our prompts, we want to get to the point where we fade them, and we don't want to fade them really quickly. We want to go slowly so that we make sure that they are, not needed anymore. And if we see that the child or individual can't do it, then we have to go back to the last prompt that worked. But a model prompt, really, really effective. But again, we have to know that the child can learn through observation before we get to that point. So very effective tool when they're ready for it. All right, let's move on to, we always have a question of the day for you. Our question for today, which is a very funny question to me today: how do you know when it's time to stop? And I mean anything. How do you know when it's time to stop? Yesterday, we had a viewer who wrote in and said that they had, they didn't call it a meltdown, so I don't want to call it a meltdown, but that they had an incident at the grocery store on Saturday where they really had some challenging behavior and that they wanted to better understand it. And as we were talking about it with Dr. Grampuchet, we were talking about the fact that we all are guilty of this sometimes, that we will behave in a way, all of us, will behave in a way that is not our highest selves, right? And that's a whole spectrum of, I have thrown tantrums as an adult, right? And sometimes it's just being snippy or being short with someone or not getting your work done properly. We've all been there, done that, right? And Dr. Grampiche was saying, because sometimes we've pushed ourselves too far, we've done too much, or we're about to be sick. When is it a good time to stop? But this goes further than that too. When is it a good time to stop a medicine? When is it a good time to stop a therapy? When is it a good time to say, this isn't working? And I really want to know from you guys, how do you judge when is it time to stop? When is it time to call a halt and say, we got to reevaluate, whether it's just, I got to stop and eat something, I got to stop and drink something, or I got to stop and ask for help. What are the signs that you know that it's time to stop? I will tell you that this morning, I had an incident that happened. I just could not get it together this morning at all. You know how you have those mornings? And I was saying to a friend this morning, it's one of those mornings where you put an outfit on and you go, this is not the outfit of the day. And you're already off the rails, and you start putting other things on and the pile gets bigger. And then eventually you put back the first outfit. This is what happened today, right? And I was so overwhelmed because we got a lot going on with the studio move. And I was having a moment this morning. I walked out of my house and had to walk back in 3 times because there were things that I had forgotten. And I kind of was just in this mode where I was like, all right, seriously, I can't be doing this anymore. I gotta take a second. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do first. Got in my car and I realized that I needed to call somebody back, and I pushed the button on Siri to have them call that person, said the person's name. Siri just flatlined and did nothing. And I stopped for a second and I took a breath, and then Siri said, I'm not kidding you, this is exactly what happened. Siri said, the answer to the question is stop. That's what happened to me this morning. And I went, okay. Well, when Siri tells you it's time to stop, and you haven't asked Siri, is it time to stop? And Siri says it's time to listen. So I think this is very timely. I know today that when Siri says it's time to stop, that it's time to stop. But how do you know when it's time to stop? Please write in on Facebook and let's compare notes, because we all have a moment when we need to stop. But what are the signs? We talked about this with the viewer yesterday. What are the signs before you get sick that you're getting sick and that it's time to call a timeout? Let's share those with each other, because I don't think that Siri is calling everybody and saying it's time to stop. I've never had that happen before. It's like one of those do. Okay, so we have a topic for the week. And our topic for this week, very timely as well, is asking for help. When is it time to ask for help? Why is it so hard to ask for help? Who can people for help? Sometimes it takes as much energy to ask for help as it is to do something, and so we don't. But it's really important. It's part of this journey in life that we ask for help, that we get the help that we need. When I'm not a person who asks for help, and Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson and I talk about this a lot. Nancy, not in her makeup to ask for help, but we do need to ask for help. And when we do, it's a gift to ourselves, and it's a gift to the people that we ask for help. We have to allow other people. I know when I have the opportunity to help someone, I feel better about myself. And somebody had said to me a couple of years ago, why would you cheat everyone else out of that opportunity? Makes you think, doesn't it? So it's important to ask for help, and not just for you, for everybody else as well. Okay, some of the things that we have going on today, because we're going to get some help in just a little while. In about 20 minutes, we have Kara Kaczynski, who is the Pocket OT, and she's going to give us some help. I think in this moment in time, we all need a little bit of help. And Kara has written a lovely article. The title of it is Summer Fun, and then the subtitle is Shh, Don't Tell Them That It's Actually Therapy. She's going to give us some tips on ways that we can build fun into the summer schedule, but be helping our kids at the same time. You know I love that, all about that. So Kara's going to be joining us in just a little while. And good news also that Kara's going to be joining us on a more regular basis. She's going to become a regular here on the show and be joining us to talk about different topics, because she's so amazing and sheds light on some really great areas. So Kara Kaczynski coming up. I think it's at 10:40, 10:45 this morning. We've got some autism news that we didn't get to yesterday, so a new study that I want to share with you because I think it's really interesting. And then I told you yesterday a very special treat that we had Carrie Mallory Thompson come by the studio on Tuesday, and she had her fabulous, wonderful son with her as well. And neither one of us was terribly prepared to be on camera. I don't have a stitch of makeup on, but I know you don't care because you want to see Carrie, and Carrie looked beautiful. So we did a lovely little interview with her on Tuesday, and we're going to share that with you in the second hour today. We've got other stuff that we want to cover too, including getting caught up with you guys. You've written in some questions that we haven't had a chance to get to. I do want to give you a programming note that I talked about, that we might have Adele Nadowski, Dr. Adele Nadowski, with us today. We don't, but we will have her back next week. I have confirmation of that. So that's a wonderful thing. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with some autism news, so stick with us. Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really, what you've fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. In your life, there's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
That's very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
Get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like, everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
Welcome back to Autism Live. There's a new study that's out that I think is absolutely fascinating. I sometimes wonder how people come up with their ideas of how they're going to study something, but the title for this one, Neuroscientists Reveal Autism's Noisy Secret. A 3D simulator reveals inner workings of the autistic brain. So this comes to us from Bar Lane University, and the summary of it, it's strapped into a motion-enabled simulator and wearing 3D glasses, 36 adolescent volunteers recently experienced what it was like to travel through a field of virtual stars. The experiments provided new and convention-busting data about how sensory stimuli are processed by the brains of individuals with autism spectrum disorder. So it seems that as we've looked over the last 20 years at sensory processing with individuals who are on the autism spectrum, the key way that they have been studying this is by having dots on a screen and having viewers looking at the computer screen and having the dots move in a direction and asking for the participants to identify which direction the dots are moving in. And as the test continues, they put noise in the background, which means that there are dots that aren't moving. And what's interesting is that when and they call that the noise, because it's the thing that your mind is supposed to separate and just watch the dots that are moving and saying they're going to the left or they're going to the right. When they have tested individuals with autism in the past and done it with just the dots that are moving, the autistic brain responds as similar or better than the non-autistic brain in terms of being able to identify which direction the dots are moving. But as they add the noise in the background so that there are still dots and the dots are still moving, the person on the autism spectrum has a much harder time dialing down the sensory on the noise and shutting it out, so they start to perform poorly on the test. And this has always been, the supposition from this has been that the autistic brain can't assimilate multi-sensory things and gets overwhelmed and doesn't process as well. So for this test, what they decided to do was make it 3D. So they put people in a chair and they had 3D glasses and there were dots in space. And they discovered that when it was 3D, that it was not as difficult for the people on the autism spectrum to dial down the noise, which disputes this previous theory that they can't integrate it. And when they added motion to the chair, so it's sort of like a ride experience that, you know, you feel like you're traveling through space and time, and the stars are moving that way and the chair would sort of pitch that way. What they discovered is that the individuals on the autism spectrum did really well. And what they derived from that is that there is, and there's a name for it, and I'm sure that I can find it here, but there is a phenomenon that your brain will look at past things that have happened and then very quickly make decisions about what's happening based on what happened before. And that your brain will learn something so that you can very quickly, sometimes it's wrong, by the way, but that your brain can say, oh, I know when I felt this way before, this is what happened, right? And what they discovered is that for individuals on the autism spectrum, they don't access that as sharply or as quickly, that it takes longer for them to process something than it would somebody not on the spectrum who was using that phenomenon. So they're saying, oh, well, the last time this happened, I know it was this, so I'm going to say that I'm moving in the right direction. For the person on the autism spectrum, they're looking at it each time as an individual thing and not putting past events on top of that. Isn't that fascinating? So what we've learned from this, a couple of different things, that are the way that an autism brain processes multi-sensory information is vastly different than what we thought. and that we're seeing that where the deficit is in an area where the brain can recognize something, say, I've seen this before, so I know it's X, Y, or Z. And the authors of the study were saying that perhaps this is an area that we can start to target in therapy, and that will help individuals on the autism spectrum to be able to handle multisensory things and not get overwhelmed. If we teach them and strengthen that muscle of saying, here's what happened in the past, so what do we think is going to happen, and make that quicker. And I love that in this article it says maybe we can begin to start to do that in our therapy sessions. And of course, there were already lessons about exactly that, working memory and episodic memory in skills, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. I sent an email to Dr. Granpeche last night and I said, you're way ahead of the curve. So absolutely fascinating, but also being able to play off a strength that when we add motion with sensory things, that can help to allow their brain to make sense of it. We see that a lot of times, and we could talk about this with Kara Kaczynski, who is an OT, sometimes we give kids who have sensory issues a ball to sit on in class, and there's the constant moving of the ball, and they have to use their core to keep straight enough that they can continue to work, and we find that helps some of those kids be able to focus. Could be part and parcel of the same thing. Interesting study, and how much fun to be traveling through space and time as part of a science experiment. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with more Autism Live after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We had a couple of questions that came in. One that came in by email that somebody wrote in and said that they have a 5-year-old who's on the autism spectrum and that they were looking for quality ABA in the New York City area. And I did write back to the person individually, but in case you're watching, I wanted to make sure that there were a couple of different resources, and maybe these will help other people as well, that I do recommend when you're looking to find quality ABA. There's a couple of ways to hone your research. One of the first things that I recommend that people do is go to well, first, I recommend that you go to centerforautism.com and click on the locations tab and see if there's something close to you. Because if you're asking my opinion, and I have by no means, I know that there are lots of quality ABA providers out there, and I don't know them all personally. So if you're asking for my opinion, I know CARD, I know how CARD does things, and I know that they use Skills, although other ABA providers now use Skills as well. But you know, if you go to a hairdresser and you love what happens at your hairdresser and somebody asks you about a hairdresser, you say, my hairdresser is great, right? That doesn't mean that there aren't other great hairdressers, but let's be honest, CARD saved my life and helped me to be able to have my kid back. So I recommend CARD, right? But they're not in all places yet, and I am cognizant of that. But so I also encourage you to go to autismspeaks.org. When you go on their homepage, click on the resources tab. Then you can put in what you're looking for specifically, but I think it's great to just go on there anyway and put in your zip code. And it will give you all of the resources that are available and registered within your zip code. Within, like, you can specify, you can say 10 miles, 25 miles. I think it's worthwhile to check that out because you'll see that there's a dentist and a hairdresser and those kinds of things. I do not think that that is a recommendation for those places, and I think that Autism Speaks would agree with me that that's just a listing. So then you need to know, okay, I've got this, you know what you're dealing with, right? There might be 10 ABA providers, there might be 5 of them. And you look at that list and you go, I have no idea who these people are and what they do. One of the first things that I recommend is that you do take a trip to bacb.com and make sure that the people who are on the list for ABA providers are BCBAs. So that's bacb.com. Go there and just see that they are in good standing with their license. There have been a couple of cases of people who have opened shops, said that they were ABA, and they weren't BCBAs. There needs to be at least one BCBA who is working with everyone in that place. Your insurance won't pay for it, by the way, unless there is a BCBA. So go to bacb.com. I know it's BCBA is the name of the thing, which is Board Certified Behavior Analyst, but BACB is the .com is the website to go to check and see if they're licensed. That took me like a year to memorize, by the way. It was so confusing to me. But okay, so that now you know I've got these, it might be 22, it might be 4 people. You've checked to make sure that they are licensed. Then I would take a trip over to Love My Provider and look and see in your area if parents have rated any of those places, what they have said about them. Is there anybody that everybody loves? If they don't have people that are loving them on there, it doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't fabulous. But if you do see that there are people who are like, oh, I just absolutely love this provider, I don't know about you, but that would make me feel a lot better. But for the Manhattan area, I have to say, there is a CARD office in the Manhattan area, and it is at the David Arthur Autism Center. We had Bob Epner on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I, calling Bob Epner the Buddha of autism, I don't know if he knows that yet, but there is something so zen about Bob and his approach to things. I saw him on the day that I had my IEP, and I was not in a necessarily good mental place that day, and sat down with Bob for a few minutes, and Bob made my day, changed the direction that I was on, helped me to get complete clarity about what was happening and what wasn't happening, and get focused on what I needed to do next. man, I wish I lived closer to the Manhattan office because I would be stopping by and see Bob Epner on a regular basis. So my recommendation in Manhattan is go to the David Arthur Foundation. They have a lot of different things that happen. The David Arthur Foundation, but also the David Arthur Autism Center. They have a lot of different things that happen there. But one of the things that happens there is a card office that does quality ABA out of that office. And you will, I'm sure, because Bob is there, you will get the wonderful treat of being able to talk to Bob, and boy, that's worth it. So that's my recommendation for Manhattan. And unfortunately, I don't know any of the other ABA providers in Manhattan, but since you asked me, my personal opinion is to go to the David Arthur Foundation. By the way, you can find the card, all the different locations for card, if you go to centerforautism.com. And there is a locations tab. It is then broken down into states. So find your state, and then you can look and see if there's one in a city close to you in your state. They have different names for them, so make sure that you look thoroughly and check out the zip code to see if it's something that's close to you. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be back with another question, and then don't forget, in just a little while, it's time for Kara Kaczynski, the Pocket OT. Stick with us. There's been another new study about optimal outcomes, and I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on recovery? Do you think it's possible? Do you believe in recovery from autism?
On recovery, you learn how to adapt. I mean, I've had a lot of experimental brain scans done, and I have found things that are definitely abnormal. I have an enlarged left ventricle that's definitely abnormal. That's not going to go away. That scan was done less than 5 years ago. But you work with someone and they adapt. You're not going to make me an algebra specialist. That's just not going to happen. But things like getting better at public speaking, that is something that I gradually learned. What I'm seeing today, especially with some of the kids on the mild end of the spectrum, I'm seeing teenagers that are much milder than me that haven't learned things like how to go up to the counter at McDonald's and order food all by themselves, how to go on the bus, how to shop, how to go in the store and shop, how to do a checkbook, basic things like that. Because what drives me crazy is when I go back to the cattle world and I see a guy in the maintenance shop that's running the whole maintenance shop at a big plant, and he's as Asperger as he can be, and he's running a whole maintenance shop. And then I see Junior that's addicted to video games, and you can't get his duff off his chair and get him doing things. Now, when I was in high school, I did a lot of thinking about this. I got kicked out of a large girls' school for throwing a book, and I went to a special boarding school up on a farm, and I was allowed to work with the farm animals. And they let me goof off and not study. But I got to thinking, there's one thing they did not let me do. I goofed off and I didn't study, but I had to physically go to class. When I didn't want to go to the Friday night movie, they made me the projectionist. One thing they were not going to let me do is sit in my room, become a recluse in my room. They were not going to allow that.
I want to know why you threw the book. Why did you throw it?
Oh, I threw a book at a girl because she called me a retard.
Oh, good reason.
Oh, no,
to throw
she
it at.
teased me. And I had some problems getting in fights when kids teased me. But it was always brought about by someone picking on me. And the principal had me kicked out of school, out of a large girls' school for doing that.
And what'd your mom say?
Well, she was not very happy about the whole thing, because when the principal called, I answered the phone and he said I was incorrigible and I was kicked out of school. Mother was really angry that he just said that right directly to me, which was definitely not very appropriate.
Welcome back. We have time for a quick question before it's going to be time for Kara Kaczynski, Pocket OT, and she's going to be giving us really great fun tips about what to do during the summer that'll be great for our kids in more than one way. It'll be fun, but it'll also be therapy. Wait till you hear, you're going to love these suggestions. But okay, we had somebody who wrote in last week and said, we talked, I don't remember what the question of the day was, but they said, thanks for the word of the day. Your explanation was a great addendum to learning negative reinforcement after watching IBT. Question, on YouTube, operant conditioning closure popular Big Bang Theory, the main character was cut off doing his preferred behavior, which was his closure, and ended up doing the targeted behavior while on his own. Does something like this happen if we keep our kids from behaviors that seem odd to others, which are self-reinforcing? My teen still jumps when excited. Cute when he was a boy, I still think it's cute, but may seem odd to other teens. If we stop the behavior, would it come out more when we are not watching? And thank you. Okay, so let's tear this down just a little bit. So I happen to love The Big Bang Theory. I just started watching it a couple of years ago, but I love it and have a particular affinity for Sheldon, although I think they're all a little bit on the spectrum, if you know what I mean. But in any case, we have phone ringing, Kelby. I think that's probably Kara Kaczynski calling us. But in any case, so there's a thing that Sheldon does. If you don't watch the show, Sheldon, when he goes to knock on somebody's door, he'll knock and say Penny, and he'll knock again, say Penny, and then he knocks again and has to say Penny the third time. And if she opens the door on the second knock, he still has to knock and say the third time. Okay, so we can talk about that behavior, but what I just want to say is, from what I've been told by the experts, is that there are behaviors that we do because they fulfill something, right? And sometimes the most difficult one is when it's automatic reinforcing. There's something about it that feels right. And those are behaviors. But then there are behaviors that get to another point where it becomes a compulsion, which means that you have to do it. Then we're into a whole other area of things. So I think it's important that we talk about, the difference with your son jumping him up and down. Is it just a behavior or is it a compulsion? Because it's very different how we look at these things compassionately, and very different, I think, as a parent, that you would target them. Because when we're looking at a behavior that's automatically reinforcing, if we find another behavior that fulfills the same need, the child or the individual should be able to stop doing it fairly quickly. If you think about it, people who stop smoking and they start eating instead, because it's that oral gratification kind of thing. There are people who can stop smoking as long as they're eating jelly beans, right? There are other people that they could eat 3 pounds of jelly beans. They're still not going to stop the smoking because it doesn't fulfill the need for it. There's a compulsion there that has more to do with the smoking than it does to do with the oral fixation, right? So that's my big question for you is the jumping up and down a compulsion, or is it the way that he expresses his excitement? And if we found a different way for him to express excitement, would he be just as happy? And I think that that's a really important distinction that we need to make for ourselves as caretakers, because whenever we want to change a behavior, we should never want to change a behavior just to make them fit in and be hardline about it, right? We need to, if we're going to be successful, find the way that we replace it with something that is more functional. And if we do that, we shouldn't be making the individual miserable. When it is a compulsion, I think there's much more to be dealt with, and I think you've got to get to what the underlying thing is, and then it becomes a much slower process where you have to be dealing with the thoughts and the anxiety that comes up when they don't get to finish it. If you try to take away a compulsion without having done any of that work, then yes, I think it's very likely that it would come out in other ways. That Jerry Lewis thing we talk about, when he's in the one movie and he says, my shoulders are tense, and the doctor, massages out the tension in his shoulders, and then his arm goes straight up, and they massage the arm, and then the leg goes up, right? Because you're not getting at what the core of that tension is. So I think for Sheldon, the knocking is a compulsion, and until somebody was willing to work with him through what the compulsion was in a very compassionate and patient way, I don't think you can give him another behavior that will take the place of it. So ask yourself, is your son jumping up and down because it's compulsion, or it's his way of expressing excitement, and we can give him a different way of expressing excitement that fulfills the same need, but is more socially acceptable. And then let us know. All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to be joined by the fabulous Pocket OT, Kara Kaczynski. She's going to give us tips for the summer. You're going to love it. Stick with us.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain?
If help seemed out of reach?
Have you been given no hope?
TACA means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism, and today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. TACA unites these families and ensures that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope.
One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing, oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's going to do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're going to do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3-week of depression and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we going to do. And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction and there was hope and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's going to be okay and we're going to be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon, and we couldn't be more pleased, and without TACA, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. TACA is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At TACA?
At TACA.
At TACA,
We are families with autism helping.
Helping.
Helping families.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone, and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are being joined right now by one of our favorite guests. In fact, we like her so much that we've asked her to be a regular here on the show. Kara Kaczynski, who is the Pocket OT, is joining us right now. Kara, thank you so much for being with us today.
You are welcome. I'm very excited.
We're so excited too, because you always have such great tips, and I am remiss because I was downstairs, so I didn't bring up your books, which I should have done, because you write fabulous books. But we'll talk about those in just a second, because today you're here to help us with this whole this gaping thing that's standing in front of all of us, the summer. And I think everybody's feeling like me, feeling a little bit of panic about, oh my gosh, I don't have this puppy nailed down yet. I don't know everything that we're doing. And we want it to be fun. We don't want it to be all driving to therapy and doing this and all drudgery. But you have sort of the solution to that for us, right?
Yes, I'm going to try, because I'm like you. I have the 2 kids with autism, and I am dreading the summer. I dread it every year. So I decided, you know what, why don't we just try to make some sort of a blog, post about it, so that I think a lot of people feel the same way that we do. So yeah, hopefully these tips help everybody.
And so the title of this article is Summer Fun, Shh, Don't Tell Them It's Actually Therapy. And this is going to be available on Kara's blog as soon as we're done, so that you're going to be able to get all the tips. We're just going to go through a few here today. So make sure that you go to www.pocketot.com, and you can click on the blog tab to read the entire thing. I'm telling you, these tips are amazing. I remember a couple of years ago when we first started doing the Toy Festival, Kara, during the holiday season, somebody had done a blog and they said, here are the top 5 toys for childhood. And one was dirt, and one was string, and another was sticks. And you thought, oh my gosh, how far have we gotten away from those good times when we were making mud pies? And I read this and I went, oh my gosh, these are things that I did before we had the internet, and I had forgotten how much fun they are. And I never thought about the fact that they're actually therapy. So let's start with a couple of these. What's on your hit parade list?
Okay, well, we, of course, you know me, I'm going to start with routine. Okay, so I know that school is wonderful because it gives a routine, but the summer is blank, and I feel like, everyone panics. So what we need to do is try to maintain as much of a routine as we can. That means looking at the calendar now, because here we are at the precipice of summer. You're going to pull out your calendar and look at the summer and plan things now. So the other thing is daily routines. Even though, your student you may go to work, your child needs something to do. So let's post a routine of what needs to happen every day. And I'm encouraging you as a parent to put chores on the list that include heavy work. So those would be pushing, pulling, carrying, lifting. We want kids to be vacuuming. We want them to be loading laundry. We want them to have a schedule of responsibility, because that's really good for them. And check off boxes are important, because you want them to say, you know what, I finished this today, check it off. And so that they have the feeling of success, and that you see that they've done it, and they can be proud of their accomplishments. So I like a one-to-one reinforcer on that.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I said, oh, there's so many fun things on this list. And you started with routine and chores. And people are probably thinking, well, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. But I got to be honest that we really have been making Jem do chores. And the truth of the matter is that he enjoys the pride of feeling like he did something that helped. And I think that he's not alone in that when we give our kids the opportunity to do something and for them to say, I did it, it adds to their self-esteem, which we're always wanting to work on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can't go wrong with that. And then the rewards. So I guess we could choose the next couple activities as rewards, maybe.
Okay.
But, we think about summer, and we think about summer camps. And we think, there's this formal summer camps that a lot of us go to. But then why can't we make a camp in our own home? So there's so many ideas on Pinterest. So look at Pinterest. Look at my Pinterest board, The Pocket Occupational Therapist, if you want. I've got these. But, spread a tent, even a little tent. You can get them at IKEA or even some discount stores in your own living room. And that facilitates pretend play, right? Mm-hmm. So pretend that there's a fire in there and you have flashlights, which brings me to my next point is flashlights. I think it's really cool when it starts to get dark to play with the dark. So either shut the lights off in the room, and if your child doesn't do that, put a little nightlight on, but encourage them to get a flashlight and maybe tape stuff around the room on the walls. And you can say, let's do a scavenger hunt and try to find as many things in the living room as we lay in our bean bag or in our sleeping bag in our tent, or, let's look around the walls or pin things, that they can find with that flashlight. And then you can also play with those very cheap light sticks and glow necklaces. You can cut them and dump the glowy stuff out. And you can actually use that to paint with. You can paint with the glowy stuff in the daytime and watch it as the lights get darker, your artwork starts to glow, and that's always fun.
That's very cool. I didn't know you could paint with that stuff.
You can add it to paints. I've seen it added, water added to it in a jar. And the luminescence of it is really cool. But yeah, you can actually mix it with paints. You can mix it with seeing people do it in chalk and finger paints. And yeah, it's really a neat substance. Of course, you have to watch. The kids don't ingest it, but
yes. For kids who are past the point of not putting stuff in mouth. I love the whole idea of going on Pinterest. Okay, so I don't know how many we're at because we said we were going to do 5. But so what else for this one? And then we'll take a break.
Okay, so taping a line on the floor. Wow, that sounds so boring, but it's really not. Pretend it's a balance beam. So take a nice long line and tape it on the floor, and then put some hula hoops on the floor, okay? So you're gonna maybe hop in the hula hoop and then walk on the line, pointing your toes inward. I'm doing this with my fingers. Your toes would go inward, and practice walking like a pigeon and then a duck along the line, hop over it. And each kid can then, if you did a pool noodle and you cut it in half, that's like a little balance beam, which is super cheap too. So, there's so many ways to make obstacle courses that are very affordable, and they could be outside in the yard when it's beautiful out, or bring them inside in the basement or the hallway when if it's a bad weather day or evening, or if your child doesn't like sunlight, like a lot of us, our kids don't like the bright light. You can set up an obstacle course relatively cheaply and easily in your home.
Wonderful. I love all of these tips, Kara. Tell us, we're going to take a break, but before we go to the break, we want to remind people to go to pocketot.com. That's where people can find your books and your CDs. Tell us 2 of the books that you've got available on your site.
Okay, so the first book is called The Pocket Occupational Therapist for Families of Kids with Special Needs. It's basically a pocketbook of anything you might want to know that you might ask your therapist, or you just wonder. So handwriting, bathing, dressing, washing hair, clipping toenails, clipping fingernails, handwriting at school stuff, crafts, scissoring, all that's in there. It's not only why is my child having difficulty, but then what can I do about it? So that's book 1. It's a handbook. You can use it as a resource at any time. And then book 2 is the Special Needs School Survival Guide. That book is everything you want to know about school therapy, sensory processing, sensory breaks in school, again, handwriting, IEPs, 504s, anything school related, and then what you can do to help remediate some of these issues your kids may be having.
And they're great resources.
Thank
Everybody
you.
needs to have these books. So again, www.pocketot.com. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with some more fun things to do in the summer that are hidden therapy. Stick with us.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about.
Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome.
Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so lucky because we're joined right now by Kara Kaczynski, the Pocket OT. She's giving us tips for things that we can do in the summer that our kids will really enjoy and that will help them at the same time. It's a shh, don't tell them that it's actually therapy. This entire blog and all the suggestions, because there's no way that we're going to get to all the suggestions that she has here, it's all going to be available for you at www.pocketot.com as soon as the interview is over. But I was saying to her during the break that I said, Kara, I'll bet you throw a mean birthday party, and I'm right, aren't I?
You are. I always have to have a theme, and everyone has to dress like that, and then we have to do all these activities. It is. I go all out. You busted me.
I love it. Well, because we're getting ready for a birthday / graduation party. I think I might use some of these tips for that. That's how fun these tips are. So let's continue with our cavalcade of fun things that are therapy. What else is on your list here?
Okay, so let's talk about different items that we might find. I love a scavenger hunt. So you might then, plan a scavenger hunt for your child. You could do it alphabetically. So find things, if your child is into the alphabet, use what they're into to help them find stuff. So, find something like an acorn outside that might start with the letter A. And then maybe you could add some therapy, then go and, write the name of it. So acorn. And then maybe you can go outside, and when you find these things, then you could paint with them. So what is so cool about that is L for leaves. You can actually dip the leaves in paint and make patterns with them on paper. So see what patterns different leaves make on paper. See what the grass makes. If you form it, maybe you can tie it together and make it into a little brush with the grass. Then you could practice scissoring. You can go outside and you can cut the grass with scissors to pull up a few blades, right? So you're using scissoring to actually harvest the grass, and the trees, you can cut the leaves off the trees. It's not very hard, and it's a little success because you don't have to work very hard at cutting leaves or grass. And there's so many other things in the environment. S for sticks, just get little sticks and play with them. So that's the kind of scavenger hunt. The other thing I wanted to say that's so fun for kids is to give them a bunch of old magazines and to have them make a book about them. Who doesn't like talking about themselves, right? Give them a magazine and say, cut out pictures. So there's your therapy, cutting and turning the pages, and make a book about what you like, and then glue it onto a scrapbook.
I love that idea. And I especially, as I was thinking about this, I hope those of you who are watching who have older kids aren't mistakenly thinking that these are just for younger kids. We met a painter just the other day who he's on the spectrum, had never painted until he was 51 years old and has found his passion in life. So, and I'm thinking for a teenager cutting up magazines and making a collage, making a book about themselves, that's exactly what you would do in a junior high or high school art class. That's a great activity for younger kids and for older kids. So, Kara, you're hitting it out of the park, Kara.
Well, thanks. Thank you. And I agree with you with the art. I think a lot of times we talk about what can we do for our older kids with autism, and we need to build their self-esteem because they've maybe been bullied, they've maybe had some non-successful interactions, or something they may be struggling. And I think anytime we can build a child's self-confidence, it's going to help them in the future, to be, learn the wonderful things about them. So
absolutely.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So do we have time for a couple more?
Yes.
Or no?
Yeah, at least two more.
Cool. Okay.
Go for it.
All right, so I wanted to talk about the use of water bottles. So water bottles, if you think about it, they're cheap. You can get them at most dollar stores. I think you might notice a theme too, that I like to be cheap. I like to reuse things.
We love that. We call it thrifty though. cheap,
Okay,
cheap
thrifty, I'm
sounds negative,
thrifty.
but we're thrifty.
Yeah, so I'm thrifty. So these water bottles are perfect because what do we want to do with a water bottle? We have squeezing motion, which is a hand strengthening. So we can maybe put a water bottle and squeeze on our driveway, a pattern. Maybe we can squeeze the letter A, you know, write the letters, the numbers. Also, you can bring a chalkboard outside and put it vertically. So maybe lean it up against something in a diagonal and write something, and then use the chalk or the squirt bottle to write it, you know, scratch it off, wash it off is what I'm trying to say, wash the chalk off. And that's, you know, something you can do outside. You can squirt each other. Squirt bottles are really fun. The other thing that's really cool is setting up a store. You can sell things to neighbors if you want, or lemonade stands. I know that is so probably old-fashioned sounding, but setting up a store is going to help teach kids the value of preparation and hard work into an activity. And then maybe if I make a couple quarters, you know, selling lemonade or something, you know, old toys to my friends, then I can use the money and buy myself something else. So it's teaching them to, you know, get rid of things, to purge their closet maybe, or if you want to just do simple lemonade, that's fine too. You know, again, being responsible, organizing something like a sale, and then carrying it out. That's really good executive function. That's a big word, but we love that.
I love all this. I love all this, and I love the fact that it's old school. I think the parents get into those kinds of things, and some old school stuff is great because it sets people up for success. We know that when somebody commented the other day about the fact that on our video that we showed of when we were at the walk, they could see my son in the background handing out flyers. He loves to go to things like that because he feels like he's the big cheese working in the booth, and it helps him socially. And man, if I would make a lemonade stand, he'd be thrilled.
I think so. And like you said, our generation as parents of these kids, that's what we did when we were younger. You know, we did have, I think we had Atari maybe was our one video game system, but rather than that, we are outside.
Yes.
So yeah, anytime you could do that outside, and you know, you hit it on the head, the social interaction piece is so key. And who among us, you know, grown-ups doesn't have to go to the store. So this is a life skill that we're showing our kids, not only responsibility, but this is something you're going to need throughout your lifetime. Absolutely. Is to interact in a store setting.
Right, and just from the entrepreneurial point of view, we've been talking about this a lot, how empowering that is. So, Kara, I love these tips, and we have not even gotten through half of them.
We have.
So I really want to encourage people to check out the full blog, which is available on www.pocketot.com. There's so much to do on those pages. Definitely check out the books that Kara has, but then click on the blog tab, and that will give you this article, which is entitled Summer Fun. Shh, don't tell them it's there. It's actually therapy. Kara, we just love you. We love your tips. And we're so thrilled that you're going to be joining us. We're going to be talking with you about how often you can be here, whether it's once a month or what, but we're really excited that we're going to see more of you on a regular basis.
Well, thank you. And I just love being here. I thank you so much because this is so fun for me, you know, to help us. Let's do this together. And I think if we do it as a group, you know, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be one great summer.
And you keep it fun. So we love that. Well, thank you so much. We'll be in touch with you, and good luck with the start of your summer.
Thank you so much. You too.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Wonderful, wonderful. You've got to check out her books, www.pocketot.com. Now, we're running a little bit late. We want to go now to the A Word. This is an ongoing documentary being made at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. We get to drop in regularly with his family and see how that early intensive behavioral intervention is developing. And I have to say this, that we had an opportunity just a little over a week ago to spend time with Jack and his family. And I can't wait to finish editing the video and have an opportunity for you guys to see how remarkable he is and how much he has grown and how well he is doing. But let's cycle back through time and take a look at Jack Riley as that intervention was coming along. We see that, sometimes it's great and everything is moving forward, and then other times our kids will learn a new skill, and that means we have to pause and take care of some more things. So take a look. This is the A word.
Look, good talking. Sassy's the bird now.
Independently tacting and joint attention is a big deal. The reason is that tacting is socially reinforced and doesn't have a tangible reinforcer.
Look, good talking.
Unlike manding, where the reward is getting what you're asking for. This is why Jack Riley has been requesting items. He's immediately reinforced. Tacting, on the other hand, is making an observation in your environment and then sharing with others what you experience. So the reward in tacting is the attention and social interaction. Kids with autism many times aren't naturally socially motivated in the way typically developing children are. Here, Jack Riley is simultaneously tacting with joint attention. Jack Riley looks at the TV, points, and labels the characters. Then he looks at Jessica to check that she is sharing the experience with him, and then looks back at the TV. A key identifying sign of autism is a child's lack of joint attention. They don't initiate having a joint experience, for example, pointing, or responding to other social cues like following a parent's gaze. The way we encourage tacting behaviors is by first practicing it in a contrived manner, like teaching labels, asking,
Well, what is it? Okay, thank you.
We teach them labels so they have words to communicate with. The hope is to fade the prompts until the language happens naturally and often.
The end.
That's the next Lion King. Circle of life.
The end. All right, it's over. Yeah.
Okay. It's all over. It's over, buddy.
You want to play? Do you want to play? Say yes. Yes. Good. Do you want to play? Yes. Okay, here. Do you want one fire truck or two? Two. Okay, here you go. Fire trucks, yeah. Hey, Jack Riley, one more minute, okay? Say okay. All right. All right, buddy. Come over here. Come sit down. Ow.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on identifying categories since he knows so many labels now.
Hey, mister. That was good sitting, but you gotta face me, okay? Turn around. Thanks. Do you want bubbles, phone, or fire truck? Whoa. Say I. Okay. Toys. Hold on, buddy. I know. Hold on. Ready? Say, I'm ready. Okay. Give me a vehicle. Good job. What is it? Vehicle. Nice. Good job, kiddo. Right. Hold on. Ready? Say, I'm ready. Okay. Give me animal. Good job. What is it? Good job. There you go. Here's another sticker for you. Give me toys. Toys. Nice job. What is it? Toys. Yeah, but what is it? Say toys. No, say toys. Good. What is it? Toys. There you go, mister. Nice job. job. Give me food.
Cat.
Nice job. What is it?
Apples.
No, this one. What's this one?
Apples. No.
What is this?
Fruit.
Food. There we go. All right. Here you go.
Buffalo.
Yeah. There you go, mister. Do you want more Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? More?
Ow.
Do you want more?
Boy.
Say I.
I want boy.
Okay, we're gonna sing first. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Knees. Toes.
What's next? Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, head.
Knees. Toes.
Knees and
Toes.
yeah! That was very good. High fives. Oh, too slow. High five. Ah, too slow. There you go. Ah, yay! You did it. Good boy. Okay, I get you your peekaboo wild, okay? Okay, where's my peekaboo wild? Let me go get it for you. There you go. So silly. He's gotten so much better. He knows the words now, which is really, really cool. And it helps him with labeling his body parts too. So a lot of the body parts I think he learned from the song before we even started on them.
Knowing the song also prepares Jack Riley for preschool. By knowing the words and movements, he will be able to participate in social activities that his peers will be doing.
Welcome back to Autism Live. First of all, I want to say that I didn't see a question until it came up, so we're seeing if we can get Kara Kaczynski back for a couple of minutes, because we also forgot to say happy birthday to her. It is her birthday today. I don't know where my head is at today. But while we're seeing if we can get Kara back, we want to show you our interview with Carrie. Carrie Mallory Thompson was here on Tuesday, and I just adore her. She is from Autism Will Not Define My Son, and she's got a wonderful, precious, sweet little boy. He was here with us. You'll hear we were having him in the studio with us, and he was playing an app, so that's what you'll hear in the background. And you will notice that I have zero zip sans makeup. It is what it is, right? So if you've ever, I've done at least a show once before with no makeup on whatsoever. That's how I walk around all the time. I am not a big makeup person except when I'm here. So, but only on camera for Carrie, because I was unwilling to have her be here and not get an interview. So she's just so wonderful. So take a look. This is with Carrie Mallory Thompson. Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here for a very special occasion. You will notice that I probably look a little bit different. I don't go no makeup for just anybody. But we have a very special, we have a few special guests that are with us in the studio right now. If you hear some train noises, it's because we have a very special guest who's a little off camera right now. Here on the set with us, we have a fabulous autism mom. Carrie Mallory Thompson is here with us, and her son is playing an app in the room here with us, and that's the train sound that we're hearing. Carrie has been on the show with us before, and some of you may know her from a very special organization, Autism Will Not Define My Son. You get a little bit of guff about that name. What does the name mean to you, Autism Will Not Define My Son?
It basically just means that he can do whatever he wants to do and when he wants and his time, and just because he has autism doesn't mean that it's going to hold him back from anything.
Right. But you do ever so much more than that. That is, and you have an amazing site, an amazing blog, and we love to watch. We talk about this all the time, Kelby and I, because you do a lot of videotaping and you post it. And I think that's a gift to everyone, but also to your son, because as you make progress, you're going to be able to look back and see it. I think so many of us don't videotape, especially when we're going through hard things. So I commend you for the fact that you're videotaping and
thanks.
commemorating everything, the good things as well as some of the tougher things. Just the other day, we showed a piece of video on the show that you had sent us about a behavior. So that's a wonderful thing. But aside from that, we want to encourage people to go to Autism Will Not Define My Son. You do many more things than that. I can see your ink on your arm there.
Yeah.
Let's turn so the audience can see. You're a big part of Ink for Autism. Tell people what that is.
Well, Jack up in Canada had started an organization, actually just a Facebook page several years ago for his son Lincoln. And it's Facebook at Ink for Autism. And basically it's just he's trying to bring awareness to it. And tattoo agencies and shops throughout the country and even now the world during Autism Awareness Month or pretty much any time can, have people can go in and try and get a shop to sign up. Shops can contact them and say, hey, we want to be part of what you're doing. And people will go in and get a tattoo, and a portion of whatever will go toward an autism charity. It doesn't necessarily have to be Autism Speaks or Autism Society, whatever they wanted to do that particular shop.
That's wonderful.
And a couple years ago, I had teamed up with Lady Luck Tattoo here in Phoenix, and we've been doing it for 3 years now.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
So for anybody else, that would be a lot to have on their plate. But you've taken on many more things than that, and you've got a new project that you've started to do. So tell us, I can't remember the full name of it. You have to tell us what the name of it is.
Arizona Autism Network of the West Valley.
Okay.
Is what it's called.
And why did this happen?
Well, the Phoenix area, it's a large area. It's kind of like LA, where it takes 2 hours to get from northeast to southwest and so forth. So it takes a while, and there's a lot of resources and very awesome agencies out in the East Valley. Well, there's a lot of education and guest speakers that do education and monthly meetings in the East Valley, but there wasn't anything really big in the West Valley. So if me, who lives on the far west side of town, wanted to go to one of these education events or whatever, I'd have to drive an hour to hour and a half through rush hour traffic just to go see one of the guest speakers. So I actually did that because they were talking about summer camps, and I was wanting to see about getting Connor into a summer camp. Well, I went there, and of course everything was in the East Valley. I'm like, okay, this is pointless, But then the more I listened, I was like, we need something like this in the West Valley. So went back, and of course social media, I posted it on Facebook and said, that was a great event. We need something like this in the West Valley. And all of a sudden this other autism mom who I had never met before, Yvonne, she chimes in and she goes, well, let's do it. I'm like, okay. So we did it. So that was the creation of the Autism Network of the West Valley. So now we've teamed up with Autism Society of Greater Phoenix and Evan, which is the East Valley Autism Network. So those two we've teamed up with, so we kind of help promote them and they help promote us, and we're going to piggyback off their guest speakers and bring those to the West Valley as well. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
So you've got a very full plate, but on top of that, you've been a top volunteer for Autism Speaks over the last couple of years. And lest anyone forget, you work more than one full-time job.
Yeah.
You're a very, very busy person. People always say that we all get the same number of hours in the day as Mother Teresa, and I keep thinking no, but I want to know how many hours in the day you get. Or are you just not sleeping?
My average sleep time is about 4 to 3 to 5 hours, maybe.
Wow.
I don't know.
You're significantly younger than me. I want to know in a decade or so if you're able to do that. I want you to get some more sleep, Carrie.
Okay.
It's important that you get some more sleep. But this is a very crucial time for you. You've been working with your son and making lots of progress. But this is the year that you have one of the biggest transitions, because what starts in the fall?
Oh, he starts kindergarten.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
And so what's in place? What are you going to be doing?
Well, he's going to be starting at a new autism charter school in downtown Phoenix. And it's going to be a little bit of a drive, but it'll be worth it. Yeah. So, with him being nonverbal and, just having just the way that he is, I don't want him in a public school. Nothing against public schools.
Yeah.
But me personally, for my son, I didn't want him in a public school not being able to talk yet.
Yeah.
and his previous habilitation provider from Hope Group is actually one of the paras in charge over at the school. So he'll know somebody over there, and he'll help kind of transition him and keep in contact. And I've just heard so many good things about the school in general. It's comforting to know. And up until this year, it's really been the only school closest to us. And again, it's still almost 21 miles away from my house, and it's the closest autism school to me. And just this fall, we're opening, or the Phoenix Valley is opening, a new autism school that's a private school closer to me, but he had already gotten into the charter school. So
I remember the day on Facebook you posted you were so nervous and you were so excited when he did get in.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling.
It was a
accomplishment.
process.
Yeah. So we asked the question last week, what are you doing during the summer to get ready for the fall? What's on the agenda? Did you find a camp?
I did not. No, because we don't, like I said, there's not really anything in the West Valley, which is what we're trying to change.
Yeah.
We're, with our group that we're starting here, the Arizona Autism Network, we're going to be doing a lot of social events. We've got a pool party that we actually just planned on the way here and haven't really set aside a date with another West Valley group that's starting up as well. So, with the two West Valley groups starting up, between the two of us and teaming up like this together to do events like this, I don't think he'll have any issues, getting any kind of social groups or whatever. So, as far as a camp, in my personal opinion, I don't really want to send him to a camp per se where I drop him off and leave him with people that I don't know. That's another issue for me. That's could be my overprotectiveness. I don't know.
Welcome to the club.
But, yeah.
there's a big group of us that feel exactly the same way. You want to know when you're dropping your child off with anyone who they are. You want to know that they know how to deal with autism, and if they don't, we don't drop off.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to find, and providers need to know that. They need to know that, I get told all the time I'm a helicopter mom, and I say, yes, what's your point? Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what we do. But it sounds like you have a lot of things planned to make sure that he's got that interaction, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, he's got some amazing therapists that are going to be working with him over the summer and keeping him involved in things. One of them is here today. But yeah, they're definitely going to keep him active in social events and stuff like that while I'm at work. And when I'm not at work, we'll figure it out.
Very good. Anything, a bit of advice or something you want to tell the folks at home that are watching in terms of, because you've done a lot and you've gotten a lot done, and he's doing really wonderfully. He is. Any advice for what has kept you going and helped you to keep yourself motivated?
The main thing that I keep telling myself is that he's going to get there. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but he's going to get there.
Yeah.
So I just have to keep looking at the big picture.
Yeah.
I was sitting here watching him with my cousin this morning, and she was sitting there tickling him, and he was just giggling away, and I started thinking, you know what? One of these days he's going to turn around and he's going to say, that's funny.
Yes.
But he'll get there.
Yeah. It's very clear that he's going to get there. He's a smart boy, and you're doing a great job.
Thanks.
So where can we send people so that they can make sure that they find out about I can't think of the name of it still. Say it for me one more time.
Arizona Autism Network of the West Valley.
Okay, if they're in the Arizona area and they want to know more, where should they go to get more information?
azanow.org is our website, or they can go to Facebook, Arizona Autism Network.
Okay, and where do you send people? Do you send them to the Facebook page or the website for Autism Will Not Define My Son? What's your preference?
Facebook is a lot more active.
Okay.
So I would go to Facebook/Autism Will Not Define My Son.
Okay. And what about Inc. for Autism? Where?
Jack's page is Facebook at Inc. for Autism.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a very involved person.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even cover all the things that you do. But thank you so much for being here with us. This is a rare, wonderful treat.
I was glad I got to be here. I'm just on vacation and popped in, and
yes.
So this is awesome.
I'm glad that you're here, and glad that we got to see Monkey again.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go now to a break. Stick around for more Autism Live after these messages. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, you know, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We asked Kara Kaczynski if she could come back for a few minutes, and she agreed to. And I have to start by saying that it's her birthday today, and I didn't even say happy birthday. So Kara, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we're thrilled that you were willing to give us time twice today. I was just saying to her, we've never done this before, and said, nope, we have to get that person back. Because a question came in, and we had a question before too. So I'm going to start with this first question. For the Pocket OT, how do we figure out if it's sensory or anxiety? My teen has associated sizzling to getting splattered by oil. He currently uses a headphone which keeps him calm while he cooks. Do you think that we can help him not rely on the headphones if we lower his anxiety, or if we use systematic desensitization for the sizzle sound? And they said, thank you to Shannon and to the OT.
You know, that's a really common question that I receive. And in fact, the CDs I made for my own kids to help work on kind of desensitization issues. So what I want to talk about then is the association. There's already a brain association with, you know, that causes anxiety, obviously. And when there's anxiety, the amygdala in our brain is actually what releases stress hormones that we associate whenever we hear that sound again. So a sound can absolutely cause a lot of anxiety. So that's definitely valid. Right? I just want to tell you all that right now. That's definitely valid for any kid with any kind of auditory sensitivity, that is actually causing a fight or flight in the body. So what we want to do then, these hormones are called cortisol, and they're actually, you know, stress causing. So it is possible to work on some strategies for desensitizing. What I probably would recommend is that, you know, you slowly desensitize right then and there. That's not fair. So you want to talk about how, you know, a list of how does your body feel when you hear that sound? What does it physically feel like? And then what can we do? So can we take deep breaths? Can we work on, you know, maybe some heavy work with our arms, such as that I'm doing this, like a push-up with your hands? You know, what kind of physical things can we do to help you with this anxiety? So, you know, coming up with a plan before it happens is the most important thing. And then I would, you know, try it out together, but while using those strategies together. So you don't want to push the child then when you're practicing the first few times to their limit. You want to stop the experiment, so to speak, before a fight or flight reaction would kick in. So involves a lot of ahead planning, and that, you know, the child's got to be able to say how it makes his body feel. So that's what I would do. I would try to make a plan at least.
Wonderful. And they said that they were going to, they've written in and said that they're going to try the trial and error, and that they're going to report back what they find, which I absolutely love. Now, we had another question, though, where somebody wrote in, and there was part of it about a sensory room. And so I wanted to ask you this. You may not address the whole question, but they said, Shannon, my son just turned 5, and I'm wondering what kinds of exercises I could do to help my son with his attention. He's in a regular pre-K class, but his teacher mentions attention being something that is challenging for him. I've read too many negatives on meds, so want to try everything else first. He has 25 hours of ABA, and thank you so much. And she goes on to say, he's in a private preschool, so they don't have any specialized skills, but he will be going to kindergarten in August. So if any thoughts on accommodations, the public school has a sensory room, but not sure if it's kid directed or teacher.
Okay, so several questions are kind of involved in the one. So first, let's talk just really briefly about the attention piece. There are ways that we can help children to pay attention. And incidentally, my next work is on that with a doctor of pharmacy, because I agree that medication is a last resort. The thing with the plasticity of the brain, and the brain can actually change. And really quickly, there's the brain is kind of like a vine of nerves. If you think of nerves in the brain as a vine, and they're developing in our younger kids. And this child is going into kindergarten, I think you said.
Yes.
You know, we certainly don't want to do medications yet, because we need to, when we're talking about changing the brain or increasing those pathways that help the student to attend to the task, we are talking about this can develop up to the time that the child is a teenager. So you want to definitely try to limit medication. That's just my opinion, but, you know, and train, you know, help him to attend longer on preferred tasks. I would start preferred tasks first. And there's many different, you know, workbooks that you could work on with mazes and different games where you're talking about imitation and mimicking that the child could play. As far as the sensory room, you know, a sensory room, you can't go wrong. In a school that has a sensory room, my feeling is that the school probably is really in tune to their students if they're already having a sensory room. That's amazing in itself. And whether it's child or adult directed, of course, sensory, especially when we're swinging, should be child directed. But you know, I'm sure that I would want to know what kind of supervision is in that room for your student, and that should be discussed at the IEP meeting.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Kara, thank you so much for being with us twice today and for being willing to come back on a moment's notice so that we were able to reconnect and get those questions answered. I do want to tell you that somebody wrote in and said that they loved your first interview, that they absolutely loved all the ideas that you were giving about summer. So want to remind everybody, go to pocketot.com, click on the blog tab to hear all those suggestions that Kara had made. I'm going to steal some of these for a birthday party I'm throwing. And happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, I'm only 20, so I thank you.
And I would believe that. So I would absolutely believe that. So thank you, Kara, and we'll look forward to talking with you again, but not today. I'm not going to bother you anymore today.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. All right. Twice in one day. We've never done that before, but thanks to Kara Kozinski, the Pocket OT. Definitely check out her books, you guys. www.pocketot.com. We're going to take a break and be back with more Autism Live after these messages.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of the children and all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, you know, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago, and there were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads, you know? It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grandpichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grandpichet.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our topic this week has been asking for help, the willingness to ask for help and to ask the right people for help. And it strikes me, you know, we're waiting at this moment in time, and I'm sure that by this evening, because it's underway right now, the sentencing for Gigi Jordan, we're waiting to hear, she was already convicted of killing her son, and we're waiting to hear what the result of that will be. And I know it's going to be all over the news for this entire weekend about this mom. To refresh your memory, she is the mom, an ex-pharmaceutical executive who was convicted of killing her 8-year-old son with a lethal drug concoction, and he was on the autism spectrum. We're waiting to hear it's first-degree murder, so she could get 15 years to life behind bars. She did admit to having killed her son, and she also said that it was her expectation that she was going to kill him and then kill herself. She did not follow through with killing herself. Excuse me. She is the mom. It was very plotted out. She checked herself into a very expensive hotel. In the trial, we heard testimony that she thought that his life was in danger and that her life was in danger. There was an ex-husband, and she was afraid of what would happen to her son. If something happened to her, she was afraid what would happen to her son, that he would be left in the care of the ex-husband, and she said that that is why, in fact, that she killed him. And of course, she's convicted from it. You know, that very convoluted thinking did not in any way mitigate what the consequences are going to be, nor should it have. But it brings up the fact that we see that there are times when parents get very, very desperate and maybe have asked for help and didn't get it, and they feel like they're at the end of their rope, and they do very desperate things. In some cases, they walk away from their children. In other cases, they harm their children. And again, whenever we talk about things, these kinds of things, I want to remind everyone that by talking about what we could do before that point, I don't want to be confusing about the fact that it is never acceptable. It is never acceptable to hurt a child. And it is never acceptable to hurt a child with autism. There is no excuse for that, right? But I think if we fail to look at where did we fail that child by not intervening, not getting that parent help, that we're going to continue to have these conversations forever and ever, which is not okay. So, in all these circumstances, it's different, but there is a running thread in them where the individual felt that they had reached the point where there was no one who could or would help them. And I think it's really important when we're at a place where we're asking for help. It takes so much to ask for help that when you don't immediately get it, it feels like the end of everything, right? But it's so important that we know that we ask the right people for help. So if you go to your mother-in-law and you ask for her for help and she says no, that we not confuse that with a universal no. Maybe your mother-in-law isn't the person who's equipped to help you. You've got to know that you've asked the right person for it. So there are certainly, if you feel like you've asked somebody for help and you didn't get their attention, there are certainly people who are legally responsible that they have to give you attention if you ask for them. If you call the police, and I'm not saying that in all circumstances to call the police, but if Gigi Jordan had called the police have to give you help. They can't just dismiss you. I know that at one point if I remember correctly, that she went to perhaps the FBI. You have to keep asking until you get help and that you get support. We're waiting to see. I don't know if by the time we go off the air in just 17 minutes whether they'll have come back with a sentencing, but we know that the sentencing hearing has already begun, and if we get news, we will update you. But ask for help. And you know what? Ask for help. Like they tell you to vote often, early and often. Ask for help early and often. Don't wait until it gets to the point when you are so desperate that something horrible could happen. Let's all remind ourselves that we have help and support that we can ask for well before that. All right, let's take a break, and we'll be back with more Autism Live after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's gonna play football, he's gonna do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and then they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that,
We wouldn't be able to receive the service dog, so we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, Act Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get 2 kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear Act Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Another parent wants to know, how do I find out that one thing that my kid is really good at?
Now, when they get older, they're going to kind of divide into 2 groups. You're going to have the kids that become verbal, and then you're going to have the kids that are nonverbal, got many more problems. Maybe they still have epilepsy or some other problem. And they kind of need different services. And the ones that get verbal, what we need to be doing with them is develop the area of strength. And that area of strength often will show up around 3rd or 4th grade, sometimes earlier, but my ability in art showed up when I was in 3rd and 4th grade, and it was always encouraged. And I was encouraged to do lots of different kinds of art. Otherwise, it would have just been endless horse heads. You know, Mother would say to me, "Why don't you draw a picture of a beach or something else?" You want to broaden it out. If the kid's fixated on trains, let's teach reading with trains, math with trains. Tap into that fixation, but develop the area of strength. Some kids it's going to be art. Other kids it's going to be mathematics. So you got a 3rd grader who's smart in math, and he wants a 6th grade math book. Give him the 6th grade math book. Don't bore him with the baby stuff. But that kid's going to have trouble with reading, because the common thing is the uneven skills. And then you have the kids that are the history buffs, and these kids are often really good at writing skills. You tend to have uneven skills, but tap into their fixations and use those to motivate, but broaden. If he likes trains, just watching them, well, we're going to take that interest in trains to do some math with it, or maybe read about the history of the railroad. You know, tap into that motivation. One of the things I really want to talk about is we got to stretch these kids. I'm not talking about physically stretching them, mentally stretching them to do new things. I'm seeing too many kids that haven't learned how to shop, how to order food at McDonald's. So you start out, let's say it's ordering food at McDonald's or at Burger King. So you take them up there and they watch you order it. And then eventually you go in when the store's not busy, and they have to go up and order it while you're sitting at the table watching, and then you coach them. And then eventually they can go in the restaurant themselves. I can remember I was scared to go to the lumber yard alone and buy lumber. And Mother made me go. And she knew I could do it. I had bought lumber with her many times. But there's a tendency to want to have somebody else there when they do it, and they've got to learn how to do things alone. And you gradually have got to kind of push it. You've got to stretch them. And I'm seeing too many kids not learning basic skills. Saw a 19-year-old honors student that actually knows how to drive that had never shopped in the grocery store all by herself. That is just ridiculous. You know, you've got to stretch them. You push too hard, there can be panic. And the other thing is no surprises. No surprises. I knew all about the ranch long before I went there. I'd talked to Ann. But if you don't stretch these kids, they don't grow.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So we're here at the end of another week, and our topic for this week was asking for help. So I kind of, and this conversation is as much for me as it is for anyone else, because I have a hard time asking for help too. But I'd like to start a conversation with you guys that we can continue over the next couple of weeks about why. why is it so hard to ask for help? And I think somebody said something to me the other day that really resonates with me, that if you ask for help and then somebody doesn't do it, then we feel let down and disappointed. And rather than feel let down and disappointed, we don't open ourselves up to that moment. So we tough it out and try to do things on our own. But it made me have to question and say, but what about, that's one part of it. And we talk here about acceptance commitment therapy and how, you know, sometimes we get this tunnel vision about something where we go, look, there it is, there's that disappointment. I knew that was going to happen, right? And that we don't give ourselves opportunity to look and see if there's more than that. And that probably just as many times as we've asked for help and been disappointed by somebody, and probably even more than just as many times, we've had the opposite happen where somebody has done something that's really kind and really helpful and meant the world to us. And those become the moments that we cherish. Those become the big deal moments in our life where we go, oh, when somebody did this for me, oh, what a big deal. My son and I were having a conversation the other day because, you know, my father has not been alive since my child has been on the planet. So I like to, from time to time, tell him stories about my dad and about things that he did so that my son will have a sense of who his grandfather was. And it's good for me, too. It's good therapy. And I was telling him about something that my dad did for me when I was 16 years old, that if my mother had not told me what he had done, I would never have known. And, you know, it is amazing to me that we could be in this moment in time closing ourselves off from that level of deep love and deep happiness by not telling people when we need something, when we need help, and allowing them to do something for us. Now, what we allow them to do, it all varies, right? But it depends on what they're capable of and what they can do. If somebody wants to buy something for you or for your kid, please let them. Please let them do that for you and for your kid. For some people, monetary wellness is a thing that is with them every day. And so if they have the ability, the means to be able to do that, what a wonderful treat for them. Don't close yourself off from it. If somebody says, I'd like to cook something for you, I'd like to do this for you, we all need to be able and willing to take that on. Yep, there's a moment of vulnerability there, and it's hard. I like I said, I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to you, but think about what we might be stopping from happening by closing ourselves off to that. So that's just our little pep talk before this weekend. Maybe what we need is somebody to help through the summer. Maybe what you need is to have somebody help you to organize something. Maybe you need to ask somebody's advice about something financial. There are lots of things to choose from, but allow people in. And if somebody disappoints you, that's hard, but chalk that up to this wasn't their thing, this wasn't their moment. We don't need to get all black and white on it and go, oh, I can't trust that person. People that you can't trust will reveal themselves in due time, and that you'll know, but that doesn't mean you can't trust everyone. All right, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to be back to close out the week. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity of
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back. We're here at the end of the week, and we've got a big week next week that I want to tell you all about. We've got some more exciting guests who are going to be talking with us about summer camps, those Baker Camp Grant recipients from Autism Speaks. I want to encourage you to go to autismspeaks.org, click on the tab that says Baker Camp Grant recipients. Those are amazing camps that have been looked at by Autism Speaks that offer, and they're all over the country and offer a wide range of services. So, you know, some of them are for very little kids, some of them are for older kids, some of them for adults. So check them out in your area. And then not only do you know that those are going to be really fabulous camps, but they were giving grants so that they have some money to give to scholarships to people who can't otherwise attend the camp. So a double good thing happening there. So we're going to have some more of those recipients with us, and we have Ask Dr. Doreen. We have Nancy Alspot-Jackson will be back joining us for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I mentioned that we will have Dr. Adele Nadowski next Thursday. She will be back with us as well. And then next Thursday, we are going to be, I believe we're still going to be taping it, but our second installment of The Future is Bright. This is when we get an opportunity for a full hour for Autism Society of America to be joining us here on the autism-live network to do a show that is hosted by the fabulous Stephanie Schaefer. You remember her from The Apprentice. She was the winner of The Apprentice. So she will be hosting that hour. I know that they have been running a contest. Definitely check out on Autism Society of America to find out more about that, or you can be watching the first installment, The Future is Bright. Do we have a playlist yet for The Future is Bright, Kelby? Yeah. Heck yes, he says, so we have that. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend and that you find some really fun things to do at this unofficial beginning of summer to do with your kiddos. Definitely check out pocketot.com. We want to thank Carrie Mallory Thompson for seeing us on Tuesday and Kara Kaczynski for being with us not once but twice today, answering your questions and giving us things to do for the summer. I want you to know how much I appreciate you. Maybe next time on Tuesday you'll see us in the new studio. I'm not promising anything at this point. But in any case, thank you for being with us this week. Please give your kiddos a big hug from me and one for you as well. Bye-bye for now.